Hello Internet, my name is Lave and I watched Breathe, which is the directorial debut of Gollum. Imagine that. Gollum in the director's chair.
Action, precious? No, more taters. Oh, shut up.
All joking aside, who doesn't love Andy Serkis? And I was really curious to see how he does as a director. He must be the busiest man working in the industry at the moment. He's set up his own production company. He's still doing acting roles. We're going to see him in Star Wars later on this year. He's going to pop up again in Black Panther. He's also producing a new Jungle Book movie, and somewhere along the line he managed to make this as well, which stars Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy as Robin and Diana Cavendish, a young English couple who meet and fall in love and are just starting out in life when Robin gets polio, a disease which attacks his nervous system and paralyses him from the neck down, meaning he can only survive by being hooked up to a mechanical respirator. Now, I want to be really careful in my breakdown of this film because, as it tells you at the start, it's all based on true events and it's exploring real people and real lives, and it's also discussing really serious topics. And like so many films of that nature, you really get the sense that the makers behind it were really passionate about the story that they're trying to tell. They're trying to do it justice and all tell it in a really sensitive way. And the emotions for this one in particular must have been running extremely high because one of the producers is actually the son of the real life Robin and Diana Cavendish. So any criticisms that I do have are purely from a filmmaking perspective, because whilst this film does achieve its goal of telling a really emotional and personal story, there is something quite conventional about it. It's definitely striving for what the Theory of Everything gave us and The Diving Bell and The Butterfly, both films which I think are superior. And dare I say it, there is something very Oscar baity about this film. Don't get me wrong, there are moments where I think it is Oscar caliber. It's really pulling on those heartstrings, but then there are other moments where I think it's yanking on those heartstrings. Without going into spoilers, here's a couple of examples. So there's a moment in this when Andrew Garfield's character is interacting with his son when he's paralysed, and his son is going through their photo album and he sees pictures of his dad, and it evokes a really emotional response as he remembers his life, how it was, and the film just lets the actors and their nuances get across that emotion, and it really works in that scene. But then there are other moments which are also very emotional, but it doesn't rely on its actors' performances. It actually uses a montage of flashbacks to really drive it home, and it just felt like it was trying too hard in those moments for me. Speaking of the performances, there are a host of British actors on show here. Hugh, Bonneville, Stephen Mangan, Diane, Rigg all show up in small but very effective roles. The only performance I'm slightly hesitant about is a dual performance by Tom Hollander, who's playing twins in this. Sometimes it comes across as a bit Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but the actors who want the most conversation are the leads. Firstly, Andrew Garfield. He's on a terrific run of form at the moment. I really enjoyed him in Scorsese's film Silence earlier this year. In terms of the performance in this, it really reminds me of his performance in Hacksaw Ridge. In terms of character tone, it follows similar beats. It's very, very syrupy at first, but then you go on a journey with him as you experience the highs and lows of his life as his strength of character is put to the test. But you can't help but like him. He's an extremely likable character and very, very inspiring as well. It's really interesting to see how they came up with the Cavendish chair, which opened up so much possibilities for other disabled people. It really is inspiring. But really the best performance for me was actually Claire Foy as Diana. She's an absolute powerhouse in this. The whole film itself is quintessentially English. I'm from Surrey and even I winced at the Englishness of it. It's all jolly good and cricket and cups of tea. But it's through her character that the stiff upper lip, keep calm, carry on, just get on with it mentality comes through, and she's absolutely amazing in this. If this film does get Oscar recognition, I really hope it's for her performance. She is terrific. I definitely think that the film is angling for that as well, because you get the typical Oscar moment scene when Andrew Garfield's character is giving a motivational speech, and it's seen from a side shot and he's in focus, but as he's giving the speech, it then focuses on her character. It really is a great performance from both, but more so Claire Foy. I also think that it could get a nod in the cinematography category as well. It really is a good looking film. It really captures some breathtaking imagery of the English and Spanish countryside as well as the African wilderness. It's really stunning. All in all, it's a really solid film. It is really inspiring, it's really emotional, and it's interesting as well. It's promoting discussions around disability, euthanasia, all of that stuff, and it's all wrapped up in a love story which does try sometimes too hard to pull at those heartstrings. As I say, it really feels like it's yanking on them sometimes. So that's my thoughts on Breathe, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I have to admit, I was a bit apprehensive about going to see this one. I thought it was going to be a really arduous, tough watch, but it really wasn't. It's really inspiring and it's very emotional. It's just a very, very solid film. Maybe it does lay it on a bit too thick sometimes, but it is well worth a watch and a solid start to Andy Serkis's directorial career. So thanks very much for watching my review of Breathe. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give this video a like and don't forget to share the Lave.
That's the wrap, precious.
Subscribe.